All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So today we're going to be looking at the major forms of government. So the Google Doc is already on Google Classroom. So right now you should either be getting that or you should already have it up. Now again, like remember, I told you guys, it's best if you have the YouTube video as half your screen and the Google Doc as the other half. That way, as you're watching, you can go through and answer the questions. All right, so let's begin. All right, so let me move this to the side here. Let me move my screen up there. There you go. So now you can completely see the warm-up picture. All right, so first question is, what do you see? And I believe I put down something like put down 4 things you see. And there is quite a bit in this picture. So there is no reason why anyone should not be able to pick 4 things. There's quite a bit, as you may see already. Okay, so go ahead, write that down. Um, the second question is, what do you think this artist is trying to say about the common people? You know, um, so go ahead and answer that. What do you think this artist is trying to say? Look at the people at the bottom. Look what the words say around them and what they're tied to and things like that. Okay, so go ahead, do that. Pause the video because we're moving on in 3, 2, 1. All right, now for those of you guys, all right, I'm sorry about that. But I know, like I was saying, I know that I usually don't start off with the questions, but this is something that's I feel I have to put first in order because we are going to be talking a little bit about, like I said, different forms of government. And I just want to know, excuse me, before we get started, do you feel that the middle class or the and poor class of citizens are taken advantage of by the rich? Okay, what do you think? And support your claim. Give some examples. Back up what you're thinking. Okay. The second question is do you believe a president should be allowed to run for re-election as many times as they want? So, should somebody like Trump be allowed to run more than twice? Now, if you say no, or your immediate thought is like no, 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 then that means that people like someone like Obama should be able to run again because under this he could be able to run again. So, what do you think? You know, what do you think? Should a president be allowed to run as many times as they want? Because hey, if the people want me, they'll vote for me, type of thing. So explain your reasoning, explain your thoughts. Okay. The writing prompt is on there for both of them. Um, be sure you write in complete sentences. That's how you get your full credit for these sentences. Because if you just put no, cause, no, that's not going to do it. You need to write out complete sentences. Okay. So we're moving on to the notes in 3, 2, 1. All right, so we're going to be looking at 3 major types of government. There's autocracy, oligarchy, and democracy. Now, the thing is, and I tell you guys, I'm not going to tell you when, oh, this is going to be on the test, things like that. These 3 will definitely be on the test. Okay, I don't know how I'm going to question them, if I'm going to do a question for each one. Um, you know, uh, ask some question like this one is where there's a group of people a small group of people who rule the government and give you the options. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I can guarantee you these will be on a test. Okay. So autocracy, it's any system of government where the power and authority rests with one person. Okay. So basically in other words, from are like totalitarian, absolute dictatorship. Um, these are where the leaders are, in a sense, glorified. So if you ever look at if you go on Google, you type in Adolf Hitler, propaganda posters, 1939. You'll see these pictures of him where he looks all, you know, jawline, this and that, looking all strong and this with tanks and planes and all. They make him look bigger than life, when in reality he was short, kind of scrawny, little belly type of thing. Um, so he wasn't as they portrayed him, but they glorified him. Just looking all majestic and things like that, when really he wasn't. Okay. Another form of autocracy is monarchy. Right. This is usually when there's a king or queen or emperor. That's called a monarchy. Okay. Now, when there's a monarchy, there's two types of monarchies. One is the absolute monarchy, in which the king, queen, whoever it may be, has complete and unlimited power. They can do what they want in their land. They are the king or queen. Um, can they get away with stuff in other countries? No, not really. Some countries might be kind and be like, well, you can do this and this, but you can't do anything like this because that's illegal. You know, you can't go around killing our citizens because that's an act of war right there. But you want the best seat in this restaurant? Okay, we can accommodate you on that. Things like that. Um, but they have absolute control, unlimited power in their own country. Another one is constitutional monarchies. Now, this is where the king, queen, all them share power with an elected group, legislative group, Congress type of thing like that. Or their leaders are just used for ceremonial purposes. They don't have real power. They're just there as like kind of like window dressing. They're like, oh, look at them, oh, how cute. So like the king and queen of England, they are kind of more of a ceremonial leaders than they are a constitutional monarch. They do have some say in things, but it's not like absolute. It's not really 50-50. It's more like 60-40. That the legislative people have more power than the king and queen. So yeah, they do have some say, but not as much, and they're really used for ceremonies. You know, Anniversaries, things like that. There's when the princes have a kid. Oh, look at this, and things like that. So, but they do not have absolute role in England. The next one is oligarchy. Okay, again, it's pronounced oligarchy. Uh, this is a form of government in which there's a small group of people who holds power. All right, so instead of just one person, which is again um, an autocracy, this is a oligarchy in which group of people. Now, how big is a group? That varies and that changes depending on the government of that country. Some group could be as small as 4 people. Some could be as big as 50. You know, but the thing is, it's still a small group compared to the whole country. Okay. Their power usually comes from either like wealth, military, social position, or a combination. Okay. Now, when it comes to uh, you have power if your family is one of the old families, like, oh, Buffy, my family's been here for ages, ha ha ha. And those type of people that like, they're born in wealth, their old family members had money, and it just went down the line. That would be aristocracy, all right? Basically, your family's name is what gives you power because of who your family is and how long they've been relevant in the country, okay? Now, plutocracy, that is straight up money. The more money you have, the more power you have, things like that. So here's the thing. Governments like the autocracies and oligarchies or autocracies and oligarchies, they claim to constantly say, we are for you, we care about you, the people, we love you. But the truth is that is really an illusion. they could care less. In fact, some of the laws that they pass, they're basically done without question. The legislative people who are basically puppets, they're being paid to basically just sit there and just nod their heads. I mean, heck, you can get a bobblehead to do that. But that's what they had these guys do to give the illusion to the people that their voice matters. But when in reality, the laws were going to pass anyway that the person in charge of the people in charge wanted to go. Okay. Now we come to democracy. Now, forms of government that is ruled by the people. Excuse me, that's what democracy means. It comes from the Greek words. There's actually two of them in democracy. Demos, which means the people, and kratia, which means to rule. So, in other words, demos kratia means the people rule. Okay, now there's two forms of democracies. One is direct democracy. Now, this one may sound pretty awesome, but it's in a large country, it's not going to work. Basically, the people govern themselves and that they vote on the issues. They hear it out. Um, they don't let their representatives vote because there are no representatives. Basically, they would go to the ballot, put their vote, boom, there you go. And it wouldn't be just like small things, it'd be the whole country thing. You know, should we go to war with this country? Yes, no. They would vote. You know, um, should the money be allowed? Should we spend money on building a bridge in this other part of the country? And they wouldn't ask just that people in that part of the country. They would ask everybody. Okay. Now that's good for small countries, but big ones, no. And even small countries would have trouble getting everyone to vote because then somebody could be like, "Well, I didn't get to vote. I was busy." You know, but direct democracy is was usually used for little towns and things like that, where people could sit here and listen to what the proposals were and things like that. Now, what we have is a representative democracy. The people elect representatives and gives them the responsibility and the power to make laws and conduct the government. They basically say, hey, you run the government, things like that. You're going to represent me because I got stuff to do, you know, and I believe you will represent me well. So that's why people vote for those type of people. This group of people, representatives, are usually known as a legislative, a Congress, council, parliament, something like that. Okay. Now, for a republic, voters are the source of the government's power. Okay. There's a very famous story with Ben Franklin, this one lady, when our country was being formed, and this lady goes to Ben Franklin. She goes, "Sir, what's our country going to be? A monarchy or a republic?" And he basically goes, "Whatever you choose." Yeah, you can choose republic. That's great, and you also can choose monarch. You can switch them, whichever you want. That the people have the power. The people have the power and decide what to give, who to give power to. Okay, so thing is, the republics, there's different forms of them. Straight up republic, representative democracy, constitutional republic. Basically, they're all the same thing. Okay, just different names. Little slight difference between them, but overall they're the same. It's a system limiting the government to where the people are the ultimate source of the government's power and authority. If the government gets too powerful, the people can basically start anew. Saying no, no, we've had enough of this, and can rebel. Now, not every democracy is a republic. Okay, again, England is a democracy; they really are, but they don't have a republic. They have that constitutional monarchy. Okay. So there's a picture right there of the different forms of governments, just in case you're having trouble remembering. There you go. All right, now on to the next questions. The first question is, which form of government do you believe is best if you're a common person? So if you need to go back and look at those former governments and think, if you're the average Joe, which government would be best for you? Okay, and then second question, which form of government would be best if you were a rich person? Okay, so you have money, a lot of money. Which form of government would be best for you and why? So pause the video and answer those questions. And we're going to be moving on in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so here's the thing. In a democracy, majority rules. But the thing is, majority rules with minority rights. That's what makes our country pretty unique. All right. Um, the Constitution prevents a tyranny of the majority. So just because one, let's say, political group gets really powerful and controls the White House, controls the House of Representatives, controls the Senate, now controls the courts, it doesn't mean that they can make any rules they want and trample on the rights of the minorities. Okay, the Constitution protects us from that, right? Not just from the majority, but other minorities as well. Um, they're protected, so that's where the Bill of Rights and the amendments come in. However, with that being said, there has been times when the minorities' rights were stripped due to national security. That was a big one. Okay, that's a big thing. So there's two instances. All right. April 27th, 1861, we are in the Civil War. Okay. Lincoln suspends the right of habeas corpus for Southern sympathizers in Maryland and Philadelphia. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking, well, what's habeas corpus? You may have heard it in movies and stuff like that, but habeas corpus is a legal term for when the person is under arrest. They're brought before a judge or a court, and basically they're secure for their release, unless lawful grounds are shown to keep them in prison. So, like when the person is in jail, they're charged for the crime. They go to the judge, and the judge says, "Okay, um, you know, what's bail?" You get to hear, you get to be heard out, and then they say, "Oh well, so and so did this. Okay, bail's at $10,000." Okay, um, but sometimes with the if the crime is bad enough, or if the person has means to try to escape, the courts can detain the person's passports, freeze their accounts, or just straight up hold them in jail. Like, hey, you're too dangerous to be out there. You know, they have that right. Lincoln basically suspended that habeas corpus. So once they got arrested, they were arrested and there was no chance to get out, you know. So yeah, that was that. Because the thing is, he didn't want these newspaper writers and other people in this Maryland, where Washington D.C. is, to kind of rebel against the government, just like basically storm the White House and stuff like that. Same thing with Philadelphia. Philadelphia is the basically the heart for many years of our country. You know, it's a place where our Declaration of Independence was. It was our first national capital was there. Um, so he was like, no, these Southern sympathizer people are making things. They're like a kind of like a cancer in these towns and these states. So he had them arrested. The second one was on February 19th, 1942. This is where FDR issued Executive Order 9066. It's known as the Japanese internment. At that time, Pearl Harbor was just uh, blown up a couple months earlier, and there was a lot of speculation that these Japanese Americans were probably spies and that they were giving the Japanese secret codes and things like that. Um, so they were basically forced to relocate, pick up, get in the train, and you're being shipped off. Um, Places in like in the California in the Valley, Tulare, my hometown, Fresno, they were used to hold Japanese Americans. The Fresno Fairgrounds held Japanese Americans. The Tulare Fairgrounds held Japanese Americans as well. Um, thing is, we were at war with Japan, Germany, and Italy, but the United States government did not take uh, any Germans or Italians uh, under arrest. They didn't relocate them thinking, oh, these guys are probably spies too. It's just Japanese Americans. Okay. So again, these people did nothing really wrong, but their rights were taken away by the government. All right, so that's the end of this lesson, but before you go, be sure to write out your exit ticket. Tell me something you learned today, okay? Whether it was about the governments or the internment camps and stuff like that, Lincoln, what he did. Um, so tell me what did you learn today? And again, at this time, tell me what you liked about this lesson, what you didn't like. If you felt I should explain things better, you wish I used more visuals, something, whatever you feel that I could do to make this class better, let me know. Okay. So with that being said, you guys have a good day. All right. You take care and you be safe.